Episode 57 AI November 19, 2024. US Presidential Debates Lies Unrefuted. Heat Pumps in a UK Victorian. In Episode 57 AI One World and United States 2 World and Russia. 3A Kingdom London. 100-year-old London flats prove heat pump skeptics wrong. 4A United States heat pump rebates. 4B United States Michigan Detroit. Trump's EV mandate message may have helped him win Michigan. The president-elect frequently warned Michigan voters that electric cars would ruin the auto industry. Rozep view. This appears to be misinformation from candidate Trump. From the article headline, polls suggest that message helped sway public opinion. 5 Belgium heat pump rebates. Main content. Introduction to 1 and 2. Rozep view. What is the truth and can it be found online? Can lies be refuted online? For example, at the US presidential debate. The first article that asks this question is by a columnist for The Guardian, who believes the mainstream media saying washed Trump debate remarks and other utterances during his presidential campaign, robbing online readers of the proper critical appraisal of Trump's remarks. The second article that asks this question of what is the truth and can it be found online is by a Russian-born writer in the New York Times who believes the Russian elite and military think that Trump will demolish the United States by dividing it between North and South as happened in the 1860s American Civil War, which would be similar to how the Russian elite and military retrospectively think Mikhail Gorbachev dismantled the Soviet Union by dividing the country first. This positive thinking by Putin, his generals, and the Russian elite may seem far-fetched to American readers who generally see Gorbachev as a creator of a brief democratic light in Soviet Union and then Russia, not a destroyer or not a creator of chaos. One opinion writer seems to think online readers have underestimated the harm that Trump can do to America, and the other, the Russian-born opinion writer, seems to estimate that the harm Trump can do to America is happily for Russia, inevitable. One World and United States. Guardian US columnist. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Dear fellow Guardian reader, during the US presidential campaign, legacy mainstream media, who mostly answer to corporate or billionaire ownership, refrained from reporting how incoherent and bizarre Donald Trump was becoming, normalizing and sane-washing his increasingly wild utterances even as it reported every minor slip by Joe Biden. The New York Times headlined its report on the September 2024 presidential debate between Trump and Kamala Harris, in which Trump issued conspiracy theories about stolen elections, crowd sizes, and Haitian immigrants eating pet cats and dogs, as Harris and Trump bet on their own sharply contrasting views of America. Trump also used virulent rhetoric towards journalists. He has called the free press scum and the enemy within. During his campaign, he called for revoking the licenses of television networks and jailing journalists who won't reveal their anonymous sources. Elsewhere around the world, alliances of economic elites and authoritarians similarly threaten public access to the truth, without which democracy cannot thrive. It's a vicious cycle. Citizens have grown cynical about democracy because decision-making has become dominated by economic elites, and that cynicism has ushered in authoritarians who are even more solicitous of such elites. Trump and his lapdogs have lionized Viktor Orban and Hungary's Fidesz party, which transformed a once vibrant democracy into a one-party state, muzzling the media and rewarding the wealthy. Trump's success will likely encourage other authoritarians, such as Marine Le Pen and her National Rally Party in France, Alternative for Germany, or AfD, Italy's far-right Giorgia Meloni, and radical right-wing parties in the Netherlands and Austria. Trump's triumph will embolden Russia's Vladimir Putin, the world's most dangerous authoritarian oligarch, not only in Ukraine and potentially Eastern Europe, but also in his worldwide campaign of disinformation seeking to undermine democracies. Jeff Bezos, the billionaire owner of the Washington Post, prohibited the newspaper from endorsing Harris. Citizens concerned about democracy must monitor those in power, act as watchdogs against abuses of power, challenge those abuses, organize and litigate, and sound the alarm about wrongdoing and wrongful policies. But not even the most responsible of citizens can do these things without reliable sources of information. The public doesn't know what stories have been censored, muted, judged out of bounds. Honest people standing up is precisely what resisting authoritarianism and protecting democracy require. Americans and the citizens of other countries must have access to the truth if we have any hope of standing up to tyranny. 2 World and Russia. Putin sees America hurtling to disaster, with Trump at the wheel. The New York Times. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. November 19, 2024. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump standing alongside each other. The New York Times writer is a Russian journalist and the author of the newsletter The Last Pioneer. From the article, the American election results were received with enthusiasm in Moscow. President Vladimir Putin, offering his congratulations, seemed genuinely pleased. But it's not because Donald Trump is seen as a pro-Russian politician or even one of their own. Those illusions faded long ago. Nor is it the prospect of an advantageous peace deal in Ukraine, ruthlessly brokered by Mr. Trump. Instead, the excitement comes from something else. To many in the Kremlin, a Trump presidency might bring about the collapse of the American state. Leading the charge was Nikolai Patrushev, a former director of the Federal Security Service and one of Mr. Putin's key advisors. Widely regarded as Russia's leading hardliner, he was among the first to claim that America was on an inexorable path to implosion. In a 2023 interview with Rossiyskaya Gazeta, the official publication of the Russian government, Mr. Patrushev detailed what that would look like. The United States would split into North and South, with the South moving toward Mexico, whose lands were seized by Americans in 1848. By then, Mr. Putin himself had laid out a similar view of territorial disintegration. As a former citizen of the former Soviet Union, I'll tell you the problem with empires. They believe they are so powerful that they can afford minor mistakes, he said in 2021. But the problems accumulate, and a moment comes when they are no longer manageable. The United States is confidently, firmly marching down the same path as the Soviet Union. This still seems to represent Mr. Putin's fundamental assessment of the country. He is convinced that America is nearing its end. The American film Civil War, starring Kirsten Dunst, from the Russian elite's perspective of the movie, depicts California and Texas seceding, with bloodshed erupting across the nation, reflecting how Americans see their near future. The film generated immense excitement in Russia's ruling circles. The answer, for the Kremlin, is simple: culture war. An army of Russian bots and propagandists promote conspiracy theories and vaccine skepticism on social media. Into this combustible setting comes Mr. Trump, whose victory appears to vindicate Russia's assessment of America. To Moscow, he looks like a figure who could dismantle the ideology of liberalism at home and abroad, unraveling the country in the process. To officials in the Kremlin, mostly former KGB members for whom the collapse of the Soviet Union was the greatest catastrophe of modern times. The collapse was started in a characterization of Mikhail Gorbachev that Western people will probably not recognize. The collapse of the Soviet Union was started by Gorbachev, a man without a plan, a strategy, or any clear understanding of his goals, who undermined core institutions that supported the state and left only chaos in his wake. According to the writer of this New York Times article, the Soviet Union fell because it bankrupted itself under the weight of excessive military spending and imperial ambitions. Its economy proved to be unsustainable and ethnic tensions emerged, with some Soviet republics pushing for independence. The differences with the United States and Mr. Trump should be obvious, but that won't stop the Kremlin from seeing what it wants to see: an America hurtling toward disaster, with Mr. Trump at the wheel. 3A United Kingdom London. 100-year-old London flats prove heat pump skeptics wrong. Made in Britain. An ambitious central London regeneration project serves as the perfect heat pump mythbuster. Pre-First World War social housing estate embraces. 3B United Kingdom London. How these 100-year-old central London flats are proving heat pump skeptics wrong. The Energist. Rozep View. This article shows an urban apartment block as an example of how heat pumps can be used to decarbonize, or in other words clean the air of PM 2.5 pollution by replacing dirty sources of home heating such as indoor residential wood burners with clean energy heat pumps that can also be used as air conditioners and lower monthly heating bills immediately. From the article headline: like traditional gas boilers, the heat pumps are small enough to be housed inside a cupboard in each flat. However, unlike gas, renewable heat energy. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. An Edwardian-era social housing estate in Chelsea, central London, is the latest complex to decarbonize building to get the renewable heating treatment, successfully busting myths about whether heat pumps can work for old and existing buildings. The Sutton Dwellings estate, built in 1913, has seen 81 flats across 4 blocks fitted with Kinse's British-made ground source heat pumps, making these the oldest blocks of social housing flats in the UK so far to be heated using a networked heat pump solution. This unique project is part of an extensive regeneration of the estate by housing provider Clarion Housing, which started in 2019. In this phase, each new, modern social home has received highly energy-efficient heating and hot water via its own compact ground source heat pump that will keep energy bills low for residents while producing zero carbon emissions at the point of use. Like traditional gas boilers, the heat pumps are small enough to be housed inside a cupboard in each flat. However, unlike gas, renewable heat energy used by the heat pump is sourced from the ground via the 27 boreholes drilled deep beneath the estate's tight, urban footprint. This method ensures there's no visible impact on the historic property's traditional red brick exterior and allows residents to fully enjoy the landscaped outside spaces around each block. Installing networked heat pumps for Sutton Dwellings showcases one of the solutions to decarbonize existing buildings in the UK, 80% of which are expected to still be standing in 2050. It also busts commonly held myths about heat pumps, proving that adaptable, ground source heat pumps can work for almost any property type, including older buildings and those with limited outdoor space. Perfect for flats. Multi-unit dwellings are perfectly suitable for ground source heat pumps, as some of them fit inside a cupboard, much like a traditional gas boiler. Urban compatibility. Dense urban environments pose no issue for ground source heat pump installations. Preserve history. Heat pumps can be installed without impacting a property's historical architecture and external features. Space saving. Ground source heat pumps require no outdoor storage space, leaving residents to fully enjoy gardens and outside spaces without compromise. Affordable. Expected annual heating cost of around £300 for a 1-bed flat to just over £700 for a 4-bed flat in the estate demonstrate the affordability of heat pumps for consumer. Installing Kinse's networked heat pump system marks the third age of heating for the historic flat blocks, which has transitioned from coal fireplaces to gas heating, and now renewable energy. It's also an example of how history and modern solutions can work seamlessly in tandem, offering a pathway to retrofit the UK's other complex to decarbonize buildings and homes currently heated using fossil fuels. Regenerating the 100-plus-year-old buildings highlights how heat decarbonization solutions can work for the UK's existing properties, potentially saving others from future demolition. 3C United Kingdom London. A heat pump man's holiday. Elemental London. A heat pump man's holiday. In his latest column, Graham Hinder explains how being on holiday didn't stop him musing about HVAC installations and how United Kingdom heat pump rebates. Why now is the perfect time to switch to a heat pump Octopus Energy. See why heat pumps are a smart choice for your home, your wallet, and the planet with Octopus Energy, from £7,500 towards the cost from the boiler. United Kingdom heat pump rebates. HeatFlex, the untapped potential of automated heat pump flexibility. Nesta, what if households could support a lower carbon power grid by shifting the energy demand of their heat pump away from peak times? United Kingdom heat pump rebates. Rheem heat pump. PR Newswire. Rheem, a leading global manufacturer of water heating and vacuum solutions. United Kingdom heat pump rebates. Nesta, remote control operation of heat pumps to avoid electricity peak demand saves money. Installer online. Half of the 43 volunteer homeowners recruited for the trial then had their heat pumps remotely controlled for 4-hour periods. United Kingdom heat pump rebates. Homeowners trying to get heat pumps facing 6-month wait. MSN currently, people need permission rubber stamped by local authorities if they want a heat pump installed in a listed building or in a conservation. 4A United States heat pump rebates in the cool down. Enormous government rebates are out there for you to renovate your home. The cool down. This includes up to $8,000 for installing a heat pump for efficient heating, however, energy savings, and a possible Inflation Reduction Act tax. Experts debunk misleading claims about next-gen heat pumps. Avoid the biggest myth. The cool down. Rebates, some upfront, with another $8,000 of that $14,000 allocated to a rebate for installing a modern dual-use heat pump for space heating. And experts debunk misleading claims about next-gen heat pumps. Avoid the biggest myth: the cool down. Even in temperatures as low as -22 degrees Fahrenheit, modern cold climate heat pumps keep homes toasty while maintaining impressive efficiency. 4B United States, Michigan, Detroit. Trump's EV mandate message may have helped him win Michigan. The president-elect frequently warned Michigan voters that electric cars would ruin the auto industry. Rosep view. This appears to be misinformation from candidate Trump. From the article headline, polls suggest that message helped sway public opinion. Excerpts edited by Rosep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. November 19, 2024. In the race that would result in former President Donald Trump's re-election, Michigan voters were bombarded with two competing and often contradictory messages. In one corner, a transition to electric vehicles, galvanized by federal aid, would lead the American automotive industry into a new golden era. In the other, EVs would be a death sentence to U.S. carmakers as China continued to dominate the global clean energy market. In their nearly 50 visits to the Great Lakes state this year alone, Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee, hammered Michiganders with their opposing visions for the nation. "If I don't win, you will have no auto industry in 2 to 3 years," Trump said at a September rally in Flint. "China's going to take all of your business because of the electric car." Harris visited Flint the following month to defend the Biden-Harris administration's work, telling attendees of her rally that she would ensure that the next generation of breakthroughs, from advanced batteries to electric vehicles, are not only invented but built right here in America by American union workers. 5 Belgium heat pump rebates. Train HT heat pump for process applications. Cooling Post. Belgium, the new RTSF HT high-temperature water-to-water heat pump from Train is said to be capable of delivering hot water up to 110 degrees Celsius.